think it's fine. Is it playing? Yes. Okay. So my name is Sophie Gonzalez.
Okay.
I'm studying to become a ASL interpreter. Today's November 3rd. And your name is?
I am Lily Miller, and I'm a professor of ASL and interpreting at Valencia College, as well as a nationally certified sign language interpreter.
Okay. Well, you just answered part of the first question.
Okay, awesome.
Your position and your job title.
Mhm.
How long have you been doing it?
I've been at Valencia now for about 7 years and interpreting in the field for about 10
that's
years.
amazing. What do you enjoy most about your job?
As far as teaching goes, what I enjoy the most is probably interacting with the students. As far as interpreting goes, my favorite thing is the how eclectic the field is. I feel like not only in people, like the community, but also in the opportunities that you have as an interpreter. It's never the same thing every day if you don't want it to be.
Yeah.
You have a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, I like that because if everyone asks me, like, where are you going to work in the future? I'm like, literally, I can do anything if I
anywhere.
look for it. So,
Yep.
What do you like least about your job?
Okay, at school, teaching, I think my least favorite, and I'm sure that your professor would agree, would be probably the grading.
Yeah.
I don't love all the, just the paperwork and the grading that comes with it. As far as interpreting goes, it can be very draining, both physically and emotionally, depending upon what area you're working in. I think that students don't really think about the physical toll that amount of movement in your hands and your arms and your face really does to the body over time. So it can be really draining just altogether.
When I researched about the job, because I've known I wanted to do interpretation in general for a few years now, and I kind of just pinpointed ASL because I got into all my friends doing it, and just the amount of people that don't do it is surprising. So one of my questions was, how stressful is the job for you? So that kind of goes hand in hand.
This is the thing. You have to learn how to maintain empathy and sympathy for the individuals you're working with, but still be able to walk away at the end of the day and detach yourself from it. That sounds really like cold, but there's lots of workshops and lots of research done on vicarious trauma within the interpreting field because we do deal with a lot of high emotional, high stressful situations. So, I would say the majority of my job as an interpreter is not that overwhelming or stressful. It can be a lot of cognitive strain depending upon what you're interpreting, because interpreting a meeting for an engineer at Lockheed Martin for a person who, didn't do all that great in science and math classes can be overwhelming, but day-to-day thankfully isn't too overwhelming, but you do have rough days for sure.
Let's see. What was your major in college?
All 3 times it was, I have 3 different degrees, all of them in sign language interpreting.
Nice. I was going to ask this one because I don't really think there's anything specific, but what is the attire for the job?
There are specificities, if you will. So for an interpreting, typically we try to present ourselves in a non-obtrusive manner. And we have to also consider the visual strain that occurs when watching an interpreter. So we wear solid colors, and we tend to pick something that is contrasted to our skin tone. So as lighter skinned individuals would wear darker colors, darker skinned individuals tend to go towards lighter colors.
That's interesting.
So as a white female, I wear a lot of black.
Okay.
But I like black anyways.
Yeah.
And then as far as how professional the attire goes, that's very dependent upon where you're at. A K through 12 elementary is more business casual, but if I'm interpreting for a business meeting, then maybe I wear a suit.
Yeah. One of my questions was, in general, tattoos, which I noticed you have one, which is really nice.
I do.
I've had tattoos, ideas for it in the past, and there was one, stupid one that I want to do for, Harry Potter in general. I wanted to do a wand on my finger, but I thought, is that acceptable? Probably not, right? Because it'd be distracting.
I'm going to tell you as a professor of interpreting and as a professional interpreter that if you can avoid getting any sort of tattoos from about elbow down on your arms, that's what you're going to want to do.
Okay, perfect.
I love the idea. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and I love the little wand finger, and I love tattoos and would have a lot more if it weren't for my husband and my job. If you can avoid, if you don't already have any tattoos on the wrists or the hands or lower arms, I would avoid doing it.
That's what I thought.
I will say this, though. Thankfully, I feel like our field is really moving into a more accepting stance. You see a lot more professional, strong interpreters who have nose piercings, who have hair that maybe isn't, quote unquote, a natural color, who have tattoos. But especially in Orlando, then you're dealing with companies like Disney.
Yeah.
Disney is very strict, and they do not allow their employees to have tattoos visible. And so if you go in to interpret for Disney, you cannot have tattoos be visible. And you can very quickly lose the opportunity to do those type of jobs by having things like tattoos. It's silly, but it's a reality.
Yeah, it makes sense. My last question was, how do you feel about the community? Because most people know that it's like small, everyone knows each other. Like, how do you feel? Oh my god, sorry. I got distracted by pop. I love pop figurines, and you just made my day.
They're a little overwhelming. Do you mean, sorry, to clarify, the interpreting community or the deaf community?
Both, and like both your opinions for that.
So I think the deaf community is a very small community, and it's I would say the majority of the deaf community is extremely accepting of individuals learning sign language and interpreters in general. So that's awesome. Obviously, not every deaf person's great. Not every hearing person's great. But I think the community as a whole is extremely accepting to people in general, which is great. Interpreters, I love the interpreting community, but it's people want to view it as a lot more competitive than I think it really is. And so sometimes, just like any other small community, there can be gossip and snarkiness. It's very easy to separate yourself from that, though. When at the end of the day, when you remember that I do love my job, but it is just my job, and you can separate yourself from that drama, I think it helps. The interpreters that I work with, I love. They're great. And it's not that I've never worked with interpreters that I'm not a huge fan of, but you got to be open to feedback. You have to take every piece of feedback with a grain of salt, but take it seriously and improve yourself from it. And sometimes people are mean, and that's every profession, unfortunately.
Yeah. Just life, especially when you deal with so many people and different people every single day.
You have to be very open-minded as an interpreter and be very aware of your own bias and judgments. And it's not that you can't have those, but you have to have those in check in order to work in our field.
Yeah, I think that was like one of the other questions I was going to ask you, but it's kind of self-explanatory. You just have to put on a mask. Not a mask, but like you need to separate yourself, like you said at the beginning.
You have to be a professional. I don't think that interpreting is any different. The political season is always an interesting time to be a person in general. It's a very interesting time to be an interpreter because people love to share their political opinions, whether or not you want to hear it or not.
True.
And you do have to kind of learn how to maintain a professional role. And if you want to get into that discussion, then you can, but you have to do it in a professional manner. I'm one that's like, ooh,
let's just not do that.
I'm just gonna nod my head and not have this conversation. So.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
You helped a lot. And I think that's it.
Okay, great. Did it record the whole time?
I have no idea.
Let's hope.
Yes.